Biden is sort of getting incoming from all angles, Nick. He's getting incoming literally from the center, and you saw that with Bob Costa. He's getting incoming sort of from the establishment, sort of liberals, the celebrity liberal class, like Bill Maher, like I said, Bob Costas and a couple of other. He's getting incoming from political stalwarts like James Carville, like what's his name, Axelrod from the Obama campaign. So he's getting incoming, even on Pod Save America, which they never do. They finally did a story on Gaza and how the effects, and they had Mehdi Hassan on. So he's getting incoming from everywhere. Then enters Michigan. Then enters Palestine. Now, of course, the United States and the Biden administration probably never foresaw. Of course, they never foreseen what was going to happen, the military attack on October 7th. They never foresaw that happen. What they also never foreseen happen was the reaction, even from Israel, even from this right-wing government. I don't think even the Biden administration thought it would reach to 30,000 dead bodies in 4 or 5 months. I don't think even they thought that. But the thing I think they most didn't understand was how people wasn't down for Israel. Just think how the United States-Israeli stance has been the same for decades, and they've always had a lot of support. And who do not pay attention to? Young people, people of color, who we've always had these opinions, but they never cared about our opinions. But now, seeing these atrocities, now they care. So, pivoting to uncommitted, back to uncommitted. This is Andy Levin. He's a Democratic operative. He's an ex-Democratic rep, but he is for sure in the Biden camp. He wants people to come out and vote for Biden. This is one of many progressives who is part of this organization, which makes no sense to have people who are for sure Biden voters being part of the campaign that's saying uncommitted. That doesn't make any sense. But let's start with his video. If at all you thought this is just sort of my opinion, that this whole campaign is literally just about getting your frustrations out before you voting for him in November, let's let people that's part of the organization explicitly say it. Here's Andy Levine.
Professors, different places. Tim, they are really concerned that Joe Biden can't win Michigan and the presidency, the Electoral College in November, unless he changes course on Gaza. And now you've seen that transmogrify into the Listen to Michigan campaign, which is saying to voters who are upset, don't stay home, don't vote for my friend, former colleague Dean Phillips or whatever. Come out and vote, participate in the process, and have your voice heard on February 27th and vote uncommitted so you can express your anger to the president.
Is that wrong?
One thing I must say, anytime you hear social democrats say phrases like hold a politician accountable or get your voice heard, those are telltale phrases that ain't shit about to happen. That's what he's saying. Come get your voice heard. Come express. This is literally social democrats understanding how people need to go through a grieving process. And uncommitted is them grabbing those people's hand and saying, let me take you to the steps so I can make sure you're back in the place to voting for Joe Biden by November. That's what uncommitted is doing. It's taking that you by the hand, you person who's upset at the genocide, and saying, let me take you through the steps of the grieving process so I can make sure you're at the right place.
Absolutely, CJ. That is such a great point. That is exactly what they're doing. Another point I want to make, and this is why another reason why I was laughing so hard, and I was laughing while I was watching your segment, was because they said we need Biden to course correct. What are you talking about? So we talked to Saba, who went viral on CNN. She organizes with the Abandoned Biden movement. And I'm planning for a special Nick and Night panel here soon. I'm organizing times right now. I'm going to bring some of the people from the abandoned Biden movement I've been talking to on. When you talk to them, it's completely different from this bullshit. When I first saw, they said we want Biden to course correct. You've been past that.
Yeah.
At this point, there's no forgiveness. Like the way he dehumanized, and this is not my word. This comes from Saba and the abandoned Biden movement people I talk to. If you listen to them, the way that he dehumanized Palestinians, the way he shielded for Israel, the UN, at this point they're done. So when I heard them say course correct, and that's like a tactical word they were saying. I saw Rashid Tlaib say that. Mm-hmm. He said that they are making sure they say that for a reason, because they're signaling they're not canceling Biden. When they said that, I knew this was bullshit. I knew this was bullshit soon they said that, but let's continue.
Yeah. So you also pick up on phrases that you've heard enough from social democrats. You know,
me and CJ, we do the same thing. We got certain words that we like, wait, what you say? That you fucked up. You said something. Now my fire sensor tingling. Go ahead.
Course correct was another one that I was like, what? Like in phrases like that, like express your frustration. Like these are phrases to say, like you're just blowing off, like you're blowing off steam. Right. And what they're also trying to say is look at Biden, 200,000 people, or even if it's 100,000 people came out and said uncommitted. This is the margin of victory you could lose by in Michigan. Please come out and say ceasefire. They just want him to come out and say it. That's what they mean by course correction. No policy different. Come out and say ceasefire. That'll at least get some of the people. They know they're not going to get the majority of people, Nick. They already acknowledge that. They're trying to just peel off 100,000 of the 300,000 that live in that area. That's what they're trying to do.
That's
Go ahead, Nick.
Great point. Say something. That's such a great point, CJ. And I just now realized something. This movement is all about giving data to the Biden campaign.
Yes.
And you just now make this click to me. You gave me this revelation. They are here to give data to the Biden campaign. They're here to show the Biden campaign how many people are willing to come. If you're willing to come out for a bullshit vote like this, you're voting in the general election. That's maybe 80, maybe had like a 20% drop off, 15-20% drop off. I can see that. But think about it, CJ. If you're really gonna fucking do this, you're willing to vote. So let's say, I don't know number. Let's say a few thousand vote for this. The Biden campaign, like, nigga, this is how many people are gettable for you. This is very important campaign data. So now you know how many suburban people you need to pull in. Now you know how many people from other groups you know pulling, because they already course correcting with their strategy. That's why they doubling down and repeating Trump talking points on the border, because they're trying to win over the demographics that they think are up for grabs, because they know that black and brown people are done with them for the most part. But anyway, that's such a great point. So guys not realize that they're getting campaign data. For the Biden administration. But let's continue.
Yeah, and that is such a great point. Like I said, anytime you see all of these Beto, when I saw Beto O'Rourke, that's when I did a double take, and then I saw the video, and I'm going to get to both of these videos in just a second, of Michael Moore. I'm like, Michael Moore is supporting this? The guy who's saying he always comes out and do lesser of two evil? I'm like, he's going to be not voting? I'm like, there's no way these people are not voting for Biden. And this is the thing, Nick. There is some people, establishment people, who even in Michigan, like the governor Gretchen, they feel like this is a shaky strategy. They understand this is a strategy come from people who want Biden to win. They're just people who say this is a little bit too uneasy. Like this strategy can go sideways very quickly if those people feel empowered and say, "Wow, it's 200,000 people." Now I'm really not doing it. I thought I was by myself. It's 200,000 people. Now we're really not. So it's people that think that this strategy is too risky. That's the right word.
Yeah, they think it's too risky because, and I want people to understand they have no choice but to do this. I have spoken to the abandoned Biden people because I said this many times before. I did a media interview with their media arm before. And one of the people I talked to, and Saba mentioned it as well, and you're seeing more and more reporting, the media has been underreporting on how bad this actually is. Like, bro, Like, bro, the Muslim community,
Yeah.
rightfully so, are fucking seething. And the amount of reporting that they have been doing in corporate media is like, oh, we have to acknowledge this. You know, like the MSNBC segment of The Soldier.
Right.
Like, oh, we have to do this. You know what I mean? But they're not. It's not a reflection of how bad the situation actually is. So them doing this non-committed vote, this was my first initial reaction to the story. It just shows how the situation has to be so bad in order to save their political career in their home state. They had to pretend to do something like this, and they had to find a strategy, even if it's a Hail Mary strategy.
Yes.
To find a way to sheep herd people to Biden. That's how bad the situation is.
Yeah.
That's why they're doing this Hail Mary strategy, which honestly, it's not that bad when you realize that they have nothing else they can do. Like, they really fucked and they have to do something. Like, if you think about it that way, you know what I mean? But go ahead, CJ.
Don't all Hail Marys look good when you have no other option? Oh, 2 seconds left, and we're on a 10-yard line. Hail Mary looks pretty damn good right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like it has to look good if you have no other options. You get what I'm saying? So that's such a funny point. But let's get back to what he says, and it's a couple of other videos we'll get to. Let's listen.
Yeah.
Is that a wrong-headed strategy to vote uncommitted?
I really don't think so. I mean, for one thing, remember in 2008, Barack Obama couldn't get on the ballot here, and 40% of people voted uncommitted, including me, because we wanted Barack Obama, not Hillary Clinton. I mean, which is fine. People who wanted Hillary, fine. People who wanted a Barack, but you know, it was a good strategy for him then. I doubt uncommitted is going to get 40% because it's not a similar situation, right? Representing a major political, candidate. But my goal is for Joe Biden to win on November 5th. And Tim, if you start doing the arithmetic, right?
Just think about strategic wise. How does it make sense to have somebody running a campaign that is saying, I'm explicitly for the candidate that you guys are going to vote uncommitted for? What is that? Like, what does that mean? It's so anyway, so ridiculous. But let's play it.
He won by 150,000 votes in 2020. If you take out Arab Americans, if you take out Muslims more broadly, if you take out voters of color more broadly, if you take out young voters, I don't see how we can get there. And we must win on November 5th. I am really strong for Joe Biden on November 5th, but I think this is actually a really smart strategy to engage people and get them in the process and say, express yourself. Because I literally don't think we can win unless he does change course. So this will hopefully help send a message, but also it keeps those people in the game.
But no,
did you hear what he said?
Oh my
Nick?
God! They said no. Oh God damn it! You're not supposed to say it. Well, no, we can't use this motherfucker no more, man. He said the thing. He's not supposed to say that.
Yeah,
he actually said it.
Because you just think, Nick. Just think. Do we really think all the social Democrats just decided to say we're not going to vote for Joe Biden? Is that really what we think? Is we really think that about Rashida Tlaib? Nina Turner has jumped on this too. Beto O'Rourke is on this. Like, do we really think Michael Moore is not going to be freaking voting? No, that's like, come on, something is fishy about this. And then I found this video. He explicitly says this is what the point of this is here.
No matter
good propagandist wouldn't do that. He fucked up. Like, that's a big mistake. Why would you say that, sir? You just said the quiet part out loud, but let's continue.
Yeah, let me actually let him say that last part again, because this is amazing that he says this.
And on November 5th, I am really strong for Joe Biden on November 5th, but I think this is actually a really smart strategy to engage people and get them in the process and say, express yourself, because I literally don't think we can win unless he does change course. So this will hopefully help send him a message, but also it keeps those people in the game.
But no matter what, I mean, you could call it uncommitted, you can call it whatever, that this is essentially an anti-Biden strategy, that it is taking the president to task for something that.
Now, there's more to this video. I didn't feel like, I'm not going to play the second part. I didn't feel like it's all that informative, and there's other video I want to get to. First, a couple of reaction, just not a couple of reaction, but just to kind of point out other people who are involved in this. And I mentioned earlier, Nick, Sunrise Movement. look what they tweeted out, and I'll just blow it up here. I won't click on it because Twitter's been acting funny today. But here's Sunrise Movement. Michigan is sending President Biden a warning. Funding genocide in Gaza risk losing him this election. Risk. You see how they soften that? Risk. Yep. Biden has a choice. Hand the election to Trump or listen to the millions of people calling for peace. Call voters in Michigan to vote uncommitted in the primary. They want to make sure you understand this is the primary. Go ahead, Nick. You're going to chime in.
If a genocide isn't a red line, then what is? If Biden vetoing multiple ceasefire resolutions at the UN is not a red line, then what is? Because it's clear the implication of that tweet, and it's shocking to me because I purposely avoided the story because I knew he was covering it. But now seeing the receipts, it's so obvious how purposely they are letting the message be known that, hey, we actually still voting Democrat in the general election. It's so glaringly obvious that that's the end game for their messaging. Very sad, and that's part of the PMC class strategy of leading the left off a cliff, pretending that we have leverage over a politician who don't give a fuck about our opinions after telling them that we're going to vote for them already. That doesn't even begin to make sense at face value. But these people use their doctorates and their masters as a way to legitimize themselves and their opinions. And they want you, like Dr. Cornwell did to us, they want you to feel bad because you don't have those degrees. And even though they say stupid shit that makes no sense, you just feel fucking conflicted. You're like, oh no, I'm just an ordinary worker. I'm just an ordinary person. This person with a doctorate saying some dumbass shit that make no sense. He must have data I don't have. It's a form of manipulation that they do because it's what they're saying is so dumb, but they expect people to believe it. Let's continue.
It's educational manipulation. It's using your accolades, using your degrees to sell nonsense. But they know that that's what their degrees give them. People who are in those positions, like a Dr. he knows exactly what that gives him. Here's another organization. So Nick, you think what's another organization that's pretty a sellout organization to the cause? Our Revolution. That's another one. I was like, wait a minute, Sunrise Movement and Our Revolution is part of this shit. I'm like, wait a minute, this just don't sound right. Then I start seeing Rashida Tlaib. Then I start seeing Beto O'Rourke. But let's play. Let's listen to this other part here, which is another informative video here. A different person and part of this same organization talking. Let's listen to this information. And we move to the next video.
Frankly, I mean, I've heard from a number of young voters saying that it's past the point of no return for them. They can't stomach the thought of voting for Biden in November, even though they voted for him in 2020. So I guess, what do you see as the course of action here to get these voters potentially back on the wagon?
Yeah, Jordan, great question. And I don't think that the political advisors can do anything.
Not a great question. You said great question. If you got a Democrat shit like that complimenting you on your questions instead of squirming like I have Marianne Williamson, you're doing something wrong. Why is the question, what can Democrats do to trick Palestinians and their supporters to support the party, instead of what should Democrats do to get them to support? Like, they're not asking for demands of the leadership. The question is about how can you trick these people? Why aren't you holding them accountable? Why aren't you holding the ruling class accountable? Your question should be, why should these people ever support Biden after what he's done? That should be the question. This question is just pure state media garbage. But let's continue. Let's see the answer. That's a horrible question. The framing of it irks me. Because the same thing with black voters they do. When they like black voters are upset with the Democratic Party, they don't ask what can Democrats do to get black people on board. They say, what messaging can we do? How can we trick the black vote? And that's why they're doing the same thing here. And that's something that personally irks the shit out of me. And liberals don't even realize what they're doing. But let's continue.
This literally why I use the same word in one of the titles here. Where is it? Yeah, this one right here, the latest progressive Democrat strategy to trick voters, because that's what they're doing. This is tricking them. It is not giving an honest assessment and saying, please make your own determination on your own. You're literally trying to convince them otherwise to go against their natural humanity. Their natural reaction is to not vote for a person who's supporting this. That's your natural humanity coming out, and they're trying to talk you out of that shit.
I don't think this is about really great messaging or smart advertising or anything like that.
Messaging, advertising.
We need to change course. Joe Biden, this most experienced foreign policy president in a long time chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, who's known as every Israeli leader going back to, Golda Meir, who knew Arafat. He needs to step up and be a peacemaker and really exert American leadership. Call the EU and Egypt and Jordan together and hold a diplomatic summit and say the carnage needs to end. The destruction of Gaza needs to end.
This is another role of what they're doing
no
here. I see what you're doing, sir. I see what you guys are doing. This is political fan fiction. And I promise you, mark it down. In about 4 or 5 months, they're going to be like, Biden did everything he possibly could. You guys see how he's saying the expectation, like, hey, if we only support Democrats, these are things that Biden could possibly do. What he's saying here is a complete waste of time. He's saying he should call a summit with you. He's not going to do it. What's the point of you discussing this political fan fiction unless you want to mislead people into thinking that he will do this? That's why it's such. I see the tactic. Hopefully, I explain why my thought process well there. But what he's doing here is a tactic to string people along. Hey, Biden, if we do this movement, Biden may do this. He may call the UN. No, he's not doing any of this. But I'm moving on. Hopefully, I made my point.
It's because what he's, and this is what social Democrats, and this goes under his social Democrat hat. What he's doing is him being weak on either understanding or being willing to talk about how this is connected to geopolitics. That is a governmental thing. It's a hegemony sort of thing. Their inability to even analyze that because they are fine with voting for supporting that financially. That's where I see this gap here. But let's let him finish.
Solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The occupation needs to end. We are going to do the really hard work of getting you Palestinians and Israelis together and saying, somehow you both deserve self-determination. You both deserve your human and political rights. We're going to insist now that you come up with a way to live together on this little.
You get what I'm saying? Just think about what he's saying. It's such a infantile world. Let's put him in a room. You get what I'm saying? Like why didn't that happen before? Because he's not being serious, to your point. He's just going through the motions. So you think this is what he is because he's not serious. It's very infantile sort of breakdown of just get everybody in the room and just say you're not coming out of here until you figure it out, like you tell your teenage kids. You get what I'm saying? Like it's so
I know it's nitpicky, but it's not. I'm sorry, guys. It's nitpicky, but it's not. Social Democrats, I'm not letting you get away with this. Apartheid states don't have the right to exist. This thing where they keep saying Israel has the right to exist. No, they don't. If China, a government institution, and I will criticize China for not being radical enough on the geopolitical stage. People say I'm a big China like Tully or whatever. No, I do got criticism of China. One of my criticisms, I think they're too friendly with Israel. You know what I mean? But if China can make the argument that Israel cannot resist people resisting their occupation, there's no self-defense against people you're occupying. If China can make that argument, and I think China is too modern on some of these affairs, you guys can. If you live in the, I'm tired, guys, I'm drawing the line saying I'm sorry it's petty, but it's not petty. I'm tired of people saying this. I'm tired of people being ignorant about international law because you're being ignorant. Israel does not have the right to exist as an apartheid state, and they don't have a right to exist as a genocidal state. Put apartheid aside, CJ. The second you commit a genocide, what right do you have to exist after a genocide? Why are we repeating this?